All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Michael Yan, former Army Special Forces and now a writer and photographer. He will join us live from the border of Turkey and Syria and report on what's going on there with al-Qaeda and very interesting and dangerous, of course, situation that continues in the Syrian civil war. Joining us now, though, is Ben Jacobs, reporter for the Daily Beast. Hello, Ben. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. Two things I'd like to try to squeeze in here. First, why don't we start with your piece on Obamacare, which is the December 1st piece that you wrote. And you asked the question, and it's a good question, whether or not the past failures of the Obamacare website will impede the success of Obamacare and will frighten people away. As you look at it today, what do you think?
Well, I think there's still that potential that right now the administration, they're organizing their strike teams to get people to enroll. But the big issue is the website has really, that for the Affordable Care Act to work, for Obamacare to work, that you need a large number of younger people to enroll who naturally would be most likely to do so via the website. And the issues that because of the fact the website hasn't worked is really discouraging people from doing so. And you have this pending deadline on December 23rd for people to be insured starting the first of the year, which applies to everyone who's lost their health care plan. And that with the continuing issues with the website, it's discouraging people. It's an impediment to enrolling and may cause real problems for the program to be successfully implemented and do what it's supposed to do.
And of course, even though they say it's fixed for most Americans, a surge in usage, throws it offline or out of kilt. We've had people. One guy on CNN said you got all the way to the end and he had hit refresh and it said error, and he had to start all over again. Plus, you have the warnings from security experts who testified before the House, and even hackers are being coming forward and being interviewed. Some of them today, and saying that the security features on Obamacare's website are severely lacking. In fact, CNN say that they've uncovered documents that show that before the launch, there were grave concerns about people's information being secure. You also have, combined with that, on the back end, people go through the enrollment, and in some cases, it turns out the insurance companies don't know that they're insured. So they could go to the doctor, and they'll say, well, who are you? So, I mean, the whole thing, even though, like you said, they're rolling out the people putting on the smiley faces, there are still huge problems here that have to be addressed.
Certainly. I mean, I think it's clear that the website's in much better shape than it was 2 months ago. That that there's still issues that still reaching out. When I posted my article on Facebook, a guy I went to high school with said that the website didn't work for him. Now on a different way that it hadn't worked before, but that whether the coverage and the issues with the website hadn't been working, that, the issue with Obamacare was, with all the Affordable Health Care Act, there's always the political debate whether people felt comfortable, whether this was the government intruding to something it shouldn't do. But the issue now isn't, it's not a philosophical debate. The issue right now is just on a practical level, is this going to work? Are people still waiting to do it? Because the issue is that you don't just need, some people to sign up. You need a lot of people to sign up in order to make sure that it works out as the
right.
mechanism set up to ensure that the premiums work out, that it's cost effective, because you had to go through the private market and use insurance companies and deal with pre-existing conditions to
right.
make sure that young folks enrolled.
Well, yeah, and of course premiums are another issue because some people that I've talked to, I haven't gone on to look. Thank God I don't need to do that yet, but we all will next year probably. That the sticker shock when it comes to the premiums and the deductibles. So people might get subsidies, and youngsters might get for $60 a month, but then they're going to have to pay the first $5,000 of doctor costs out of pocket. So they're going to be quite shocked. But let's move on to your piece today. I think is the second. I don't even know anymore in my head. No, today's the third. But anyway, and this was: do the Democrats have a plan B for 2016? If Hillary doesn't run or something comes up or whatever, who may run in her stead? And even Bill Clinton today was asked about Joe Biden and said if he's the nominee, certainly he would support him and work for him. So Biden is somebody we've heard about. We've heard about Andrew Cuomo, but let's start with Elizabeth Warren. Might Elizabeth Warren be involved in Plan A? In other words, might she run even against Hillary Clinton in the primaries, as some have speculated?
My inclination, and based on my reporting, I don't think Elizabeth Warren runs for president, regardless of what Hillary Clinton does. Regardless if Hillary Clinton runs, if Hillary Clinton doesn't run, if Hillary Clinton, decides to move to Canada and run for prime minister, it doesn't matter what the scenario is. Elizabeth Warren.
Well, she moved to New York once and ran for Senate, so maybe she could do that. As far as
I don't think Elizabeth Warren. I think if she did run, she'd be a very formidable candidate, even against Hillary. But my impression is that I don't think it's something she has an ambition to do.
Yeah. What about, you mentioned Howard Dean as a possibility. I mean, I can't picture Howard Dean, ever running for anything again, but let alone president.
Well, Howard Dean's made noises about it, and it's a very different. I mean, running for president is a very different thing than being a credible candidate for president. In my piece, I suggest Howard Dean 2016 would be the second coming of George McGovern 1984. That Dean's made noises about running, and I'm sure he could run, but there's not, if he did run, he'd as likely as not just be the Harold Stassen of Vermont as a credible candidate.
And finally, Brian Schweitzer, former Montana governor, Martin O'Malley, two-term governor of Maryland, and Andrew Cuomo, current governor of New York. Do you think they're all? Who has the best shot of running out of those three? Cuomo?
It's all debatable. I think Cuomo. I mean, every indication is that Cuomo won't consider running if Hillary's running. If she doesn't run, as the piece mentioned, then he'd run, and it's a question of how well he'd play in early states. Schweitzer is someone who sort of has been very, taken some interesting tactics. That he seemed poised to run for Senate for Montana, a race that he'd almost certainly win, and backed out at the last minute. Who'd be an interesting candidate. And O'Malley is sort of going through all the steps that one takes to run for president, but and I'm sure, if Hillary doesn't run, I'm almost certain that Governor O'Malley would run.
1 to 10, Ben. Hillary runs. 1 to 10. 1 being no, 10 being definitely.
Right now, it seems more likely than not. I don't know how to put a number on it. 7, 8.
Okay, cool.
But it's the type of thing there.
Ben, I got to go though. But Ben Jacobs, Daily Beast. Thank you, sir. We're coming back with Michael Yones, Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.